Hi guys, and welcome to episode 8 of Beauty in the Beast. So what I thought we would talk about today on this episode is what I've learned being officially 5 months into recovery. So I have found recovery really interesting, which I know is a bit of a strange word to use, but when I first recovered 5 months ago, I found that in the very moment, it seemed like it was going to be impossible. And I remember thinking, just recover enough to, to stop people worrying about you. And don't worry, you can go back to your old ways. And I think that that isn't a thought that only I have had. I know all of my other recovery girlies and guys that listen to this podcast will have sadly had their beast say the same thing to them early on. And my most asked question is, how are you recovering? And the answer is just that. You're just recovering. So you can't take a medication that's going to recover for you. You can't read a book that is going to recover for you. You can't eat a certain meal that's going to recover for you. You just have to recover. I know that sounds almost like obnoxious, but I kept expecting something to just happen. I just was waiting for something to just happen where I'd just wake up one day and be like, oh, okay, I took those vitamins and I drank that water and I ate that meal, so now I'm recovered. No, it's a process and you just have to stick with it. So I have gone through my TikTok, personal and Beauty and the Beast, and I've got some answers for the questions that you guys have asked me. So let's go through some of them here. So this question is from Sophie. Am I on any medication for borderline personality disorder? I'm going to my GP on Friday because mine aren't working. Okay, Sophie, so I'm not on any medication for my borderline personality disorder. I will be honest, I'm not really sure what the medication for BPD looks like. I do know that there was a conversation with my psychiatrist early on when I was first diagnosed about putting me on some medication that is a medication for people with epilepsy that can calm you down in like heightened moments of emotion and crisis. But at the time, my weight was too low to actually go on that medication. I did call up the doctors literally like 10 days ago because I know I mentioned on a previous podcast about my anxiety. And sadly, I have been suffering with some anxiety attacks and panic attacks recently that have been really knocking me. It's not like general anxiety. Like I think we all get a little bit of general anxiety and I've dealt with that and that's no problem at all, but it's anxiety attacks. And then what I find now is I am having a lot of nervousness. I don't know if that's actually a word, nervousness, but I'm having a lot of nerves when it comes to doing anything, not for doing the situation, but for me to worry that I'm going to have an anxiety attack in that situation. For example, me and Nathan went for dinner on Friday night with his best friend and his best friend's wife, who's a lovely girl, really get on with her. They're such a lovely couple. And I wasn't nervous about going for food. I wasn't nervous about being in a restaurant. I wasn't nervous about the situation, but I was so nervous that I would have a panic attack whilst I was there, to the point where in the morning I did have a panic attack. I was looking in the mirror and one of my pupils was extremely dilated. The other one wasn't. I was flipping the lights on in the bathroom. I was calling my mum, like screaming down the phone. I was like, my pupil will not go back to normal size. Something is really, really wrong. So I took this medication that the doctors had given me for the panic attack. And this medication is not right for me because it absolutely knocks you out. The first time I took this medication, I took 2 tablets and I slept for 16 hours. So it's not great for me because if I, for example, was feeling anxious or worrying about coming to do the podcast wouldn't be that interesting if I was like this. Shh, would it? So that is a medication that I'm going to need to kind of work on. And some people have recommended some for me. I'm not against medication at all because I know it's needed. But for me, I would like to do alternative medicine more than I would medication. So like for my anxiety, I have limited my caffeine massively. I'm having 1 to 2 coffees a day. I now drink chamomile tea, decaf tea, breathing exercises in the morning and meditation before bed. So I'm trying to limit the external sources that could give me anxiety, not listening to the news as much, listening to high frequency music. I know that all sounds a little bit woo-woo to some people, but I do believe that anything that can make you feel better, absorb. And I am someone that does really seriously run on caffeine and nerves. So that needs to calm down. So back to the question, because I kind of went off track. Not on any medication for borderline personality, but what I will say is I have been doing DBT therapy, and DBT therapy has completely changed my life 100%. I would say that that has been a lifeline for me throughout all of this. DBT, for people who haven't heard about it or don't know about it, it's very different to talking therapy. So the way it works for me is every Tuesday, I have a group DBT from 10 till 12:30, and then I have a one-to-one with one of the DBT therapists for an hour after that group. So Tuesdays are like my full-blown therapy day. And with DBT, sorry, you learn skills. And these skills will help you regulate your emotions in kind of day-to-day life as well as when you're in crisis. And I absolutely feel like if I didn't have DBT, I would really question if I would actually even be here today, because that has helped me so much with all of the situations that I have had to deal with in the last kind of 6 months to a year. So the next question, I haven't put a name for this question because I get asked this probably on a daily basis. How do you deal with weight gain in recovery? So there's only really one answer to this, and it's probably not going to be what you want to hear, but you do just deal with it. For me, I look at weight gain as a side effect of recovery 5 months in. When I was first told that I needed to recover and I was given the option whether I could be like an outpatient or an inpatient, for me, the only thought that was racing through my mind was, I'm going to get fat. I'm going to get fat again. I'm going to get fat. I'm going to get fat. I can't get fat. I can't get fat. I can't recover because it means I'm going to get fat again. And now I have completely taken the obsession away from my body. Now, I use the word completely because I'm trying to cement that into my own mind. But I look at my body completely differently now. My body is exactly that. It's a body. It is not something that needs to be replaced to be respected. And yes, I have gained weight, but I have also gained my life back. And that's not just days to my life, that's the quality of those days. Is life just to survive, or is life for living? Because when I was at my lowest weight, I was barely surviving, but I wasn't having fun because my mind was consumed with how many calories are in that. Okay, if you do another 100 steps, you're going to burn this amount of calories. And do I look fat in this? I feel fat. Is there going to be food there? Is there going to be too much food there? My mind was just consumed with these thoughts. And yes, I'm 5 months into recovery. I'm not holding my hands up now and saying I'm 100% recovered, because I know that I'm not. But I have definitely decided, and it is a decision, that there is more to my life than the way that I look. So yes, I am bigger, but my life is bigger. Because I'm recovering, I have the energy to do a podcast. I have the energy to have conversations with my family. I have the energy to actually see my grandparents and spend time with them. I have energy to spend time with my fiance. I have the energy to have sex. When you're recovering from an eating disorder, you don't have the energy to do anything. And I'm not just talking about physically, mentally as well. You're stuck in this loop, this cycle of always feeling exhausted, physically and mentally. And it doesn't take a genius to work out why, because you're not fueling yourself. And one thing I hear a lot in the recovery community is that a lot of therapists repeat themselves. And I'm going to say something that anyone who's recovering is going to absolutely hate me for saying, but you can't drive a car if you don't put fuel in it. The amount of times I have heard that, and when they used to say it, I used to think, shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of hearing this. But I'm really sorry, guys. It's true. I was trying to run a business. I was trying to look after my fiance. I was trying to have a social life. I was trying to work out. I was trying to be a functioning human being, but not fueling any part of my body. So, of course, my body at some point gave up. So gaining weight is not comfortable. It's not enjoyable. And I'm not going to sit here and be inauthentic and say that I don't struggle with my body. I do, massively. And I'm not going to gaslight myself into saying, Annie, I love your thighs. Annie, I love that roll that you've now got on your stomach, because I don't believe that. But I'm happy that my thighs can let me walk up and down the stairs again. I'm happy that my stomach is becoming a place where one day it will be a happy, healthy home for a child. And I love the fact that I am beginning to find out what life looks like when I'm actually living it, not just surviving. Another worry I had with weight gain was, what are other people going to say? What are other people going to think now that I'm bigger? And I really came to the conclusion that anybody that cared more about my body changing than my life returning never really cared about me. They cared about the way that I look or looked. So if anybody has anything negative to say to you whilst you're gaining weight in recovery, then I think it's time for you to question why that person is in your life. Now, another question that I was asked was, how many calories do you eat a day in recovery and what are you eating? Now, again, I haven't put a name to this question because I get asked this on a really regular basis. I will be very honest with you guys. I'm not going to answer that. And the reason why I'm not going to answer that is because the calories that I consume are calories that have been worked out for me that I should be having. I get asked all the time, what is my BMI? What was my BMI when I went into hospital? What is my weight? How much weight have I gained? And I will not be putting that out there. It isn't because I'm trying to be secretive with it. It's just doing this podcast, writing this book. I've had to be very careful with what I say, because anybody that has suffered with an eating disorder or knows anybody that's suffered with an eating disorder, the beast that's in our heads can be really manipulative and very competitive. So I will be very careful answering this, but I am going to tell you guys one thing. Calories are not little demons that are put out into our food to destroy us. Now, I want you guys to listen to this very carefully. Calories don't just go to your weight. They go to your lungs, they go to your heart, they go to your organs, and they go to your brain. Your brain uses 20 to 25% of your daily calories. So your brain takes around 300 to 500 calories a day just for you guys to think. So that's thinking about brushing your teeth in the morning. That's thinking about driving to work. That's thinking about hosting a podcast. That's thinking about answering a text back. Your heart uses 100 to 150 calories. So your heart beats up to 10,000 times a day, and your heart doesn't take a rest. Your lungs use about 50 to 100 calories. Your liver uses 200 to 300 calories. Your kidneys use 100 calories. Just for you to regulate your body temperature, and your metabolism uses 300 to 400 calories. So your muscles, just for you being at rest, so this is just you, let's just say laying in bed, they will use 300 to 600 calories. So if you're laying in bed doing nothing but surviving, you need 1,200 calories to 1,600 calories a day. This doesn't include walking, working, or even thinking very hard. So if you don't feed your body, it shuts down. So I used to look at calories as these little numbers that were hidden away in all of these delicious foods just to make me fat. But when you change the narrative of what a calorie is, and you realize that you need calories to breathe, to think, to be able to have the energy to run your hand through your hair, you are going to think about them differently. And for me, this really did help me massively in recovery. And it still does help me, because if I'm freaking out at the fact that I've run out of red milk and there's only green milk, or even worse, blue milk, but then I think, well, my liver needs 200 to 300 calories just to function. It changes the narrative, which means it changes your thinking on it. And what you think you believe, and what you believe you become. So I think that hopefully will be helpful for some of you guys when you're fixated on calories. Another question. Can you help me with advice on when I can go to the gym? The doctors are telling me that I need to rest, but I want to move my body. So this is from Josie. Josie, this comes up a lot, so you're not the only person that has asked me this. It's really important that you understand that rest is not laziness, it's recovering. Now, when the doctor told me that I had to go on a 6-week bed rest, not to be dramatic, but I wanted to throw my body against a wall. The thought of having to lay down, not move my body, eat up to 6 times a day, and lay in bed with the only thing that I had to communicate with was my beast, it seemed like hell on earth. Now, I'm 5 months into recovery. I understand that rest is so important. Rest is what you need to be able to function as a human being. You need to understand, Josie, that the reason you want to move your body is because you want to feel like you have earned the right to eat. Now, you don't have to earn the right to eat. You need to eat to survive. When I would suggest for you to get back into the gym or getting your steps in is when you realise that the gym, movement and exercise isn't a punishment and you're not using it for permission to eat. So I started going back to the gym, I would say about 1 to 2 months ago. And I will be completely honest with you guys, I booked a PT and I paid for a month's worth of sessions and I did one with her. She was great. She was absolutely incredible. She was really understanding of my situation. And when I left the gym that day, my mind was consumed with thoughts of negative body image, negative food talk, negative self-talk. And I was feeling really anxious about going back for my next session that was booked the next day. And I messaged my PT and I said, I'm really sorry. I really appreciate you. I really enjoyed it, but I'm mentally not ready. And she was more than happy for me to cancel those sessions. Listen, I lost out on the money and I wish I had waited. I wish I had rested before I spent the money on doing that and before I put myself back into that negative headspace because I wasn't ready to do it. Now, I will only go to the gym, I will only move my body when I feel like my body is fueled enough to do it. And when I'm doing it out of pure respect, not when I'm doing it out of punishment. I had a flu that lasted like 10 days. I haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks. Today's Monday. I'm not punishing myself that I didn't go this morning. When I feel ready, I will go. But that's the only thing that I can suggest to you. If you're using movement as punishment, then you're not in the right headspace to do it. And if you feel like right now that you're in hell, okay? Recovery is very similar to being in hell. If you think about it as a long road and we've got the bright light, okay, of just the real world, mindfulness, less negative talk, less negative body image, and then you've got here, which is your beast. Your beast is waiting for you here, and you're halfway through. Each time you push yourself further than you should, you're getting closer and closer and closer back to that beast. Now, every time you go to the gym and you shouldn't, every time you push yourself to doing 10K steps a day when you shouldn't, every time you follow a negative pattern that you know is bad for yourself, every time you restrict, you're going closer towards your beast, which only means that the duration for you to get to the end is going to be longer. And I'm 5 months in, and maybe if I took it a little bit more seriously in the first month to month and a half, then I would be in a better position now. So don't rush the process, okay? Take your time and don't fall back into these negative cycles that your beast is trying to bring you back into. I have written 50 things that I have learned for being in recovery for 5 months, and I'm going to share them with you guys. And again, I do apologize. As you guys know, my journal is my lifeline, and this is one of my journals, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing, so I do apologize. So here is the list. There will always be someone prettier, skinnier, richer, but that doesn't take away from your blessings. DBT will change your life. To have a good friend, you need to be a good friend. To be a good friend, you need to be healed. If you aren't healed, you can't help. Being skinny doesn't fix the voice in your head. It only makes her louder. Bread doesn't make you fat. Be kind, not nice. Nice can be inauthentic. If you go on a date with someone and say, "It was nice," that's a reflection of you trying to be nice. To be kind, sometimes you need to say the not nice thing. That's how you become a better person. Journaling is a lifeline. You can't keep all your thoughts in your head. That's why it feels so overwhelming. When you write down your thoughts and your feelings, you take away some of their power. You were just a child. It wasn't your fault. The hard days count just as much as the good days, maybe even more. Keep trying. Order the starter, but not as your main. Subways are fucking great. Rest is more than just a reward, it's essential. You're allowed to be happy. You don't have to feel lovable to give love. Only move your body when it feels ready. Feel sexy for you, not just for a man. Your body deserves to be respected, not constantly trying to be replaced. If you say something enough, you will believe it. Anxiety attacks are not fun or glamorous. Coffee doesn't help when you're mentally exhausted. My uncle told me this too shall pass, and it's true. Podcasts and books are there to be listened to and read. You don't need to make every mistake to learn from it. You are sick enough. You can't think yourself into recovery. You need to actually recover. Peanut butter is always worth the calories, but it's not a meal replacement. You'll always hate your body when your mind hates you. Words really are medicine. Speak them, hear them. You don't need to fit into a size 4 to be attractive. Facials are self-care. You deserve them. Chamomile tea is better with honey. Manjaro doesn't get rid of food noise. It just gets rid of hunger. I'm pro-surgery, but it hasn't made me happy. 95% of diets fail. You only need to recover 100% once. Podcasts can be fun and lighthearted, but you can also learn 100 life lessons in 1 hour. Don't worry too much about letting people down if it means letting yourself down. Don't be afraid to overshare. It helped me start a podcast. Being authentic is the most beautiful thing you can be. Long hair doesn't make you look skinnier, but it is glamorous. People who talk shit about the hardest times of your life aren't friends. They're just weird. You found the one. when they love you at your least lovable. Don't believe your beast's roar. Ice water on your face will calm you down in a crisis. Eating won't kill you, but not eating will. You're not meant to love your body in recovery, just respect it. Your beast doesn't make you special. We all have one. Nothing is perfect. If you keep expecting perfection, you'll always be disappointed. Skinny wasn't the fit. You looked dead. Coffee doesn't replace a meal. You're allowed to like Pepsi Cherry, even if it has 0 calories. You're not a bad friend because you don't text back. As long as you'll pick up in an emergency, do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Babies are blessings. Don't let that beast ruin it for you. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I know this has been a Q&A episode and kind of just a little bit from me, but I want to keep this podcast as unproduced, as authentic, unscripted as possible. I want you guys to feel like you can ask me anything and I'll be able to answer it. So again, just another ask from me. If you guys are enjoying this, me and Ella, the producer, would absolutely adore it if you guys could please subscribe to both of our Spotify and our YouTube channel. If you guys can do that, it massively helps us turn this tiny little podcast into something hopefully that can just get bigger and better, and it just means that we can help more people. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and I will see you guys soon.